If you are in Limpopo, Polokwane, you'll catch us on One Nation FM, which is 88.9. And we are live from Salam Media. For those who want to live stream, we are on www.salammedia.com. Again, a reminder, our keywords and our theme for this show is empowerment and revival. Because you cannot empower and not revive. The two are joined somehow. And our first guest who will help us realize what empowerment means. We have Rayana, as we promised before the break. Rayana, who is the founder of Sari for Change. As we said, and we always like saying, we don't like doing injustices, you know. We like people to introduce themselves. And as we said, some don't like frills. We'll go on, and then we'll be reprimanded after that. And for some, we'll do an injustice and not say much. So it's better that, you know, as the saying goes, you hear from the horse's mouth. Rayana, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for that welcome. Yes, you're right. I'm definitely one of the ladies that do not like the frills. Assalamu alaikum to all the viewers. So going back to what you're talking about, empowerment and revival, I'm so happy that this is a point of discussion, because from empowerment to revival, we do reach growth. And that's what I really want to talk about, and what I do in my space is focusing on our growth. I believe that empowerment is a word that is used very often and often even abused. But if we are able to convert that into an action, then it's true empowerment. So to go back to who I am and what I do, I represent an NPO called Meaningful Change. And under the NPO, we founded a project called Sari for Change. And Sari for Change is all about growth. That relates mainly to financial empowerment, because I believe that as much as we can grow and empower ourselves, if we don't have the financial backing, especially as women, we're not able to make the appropriate decisions for ourselves, neither our families. So if we, again, thinking of empowerment, we go back to financial empowerment, development and growth.
So Meaningful Change, Sister Rayana. I mean, I love the name. Every time I see meaningful, for me, I think it should always be a prefix before change. You know, because I think everyone might see themselves as change makers. Everyone might say they're making change or they're trying to bring change. But the most important thing is that, is it meaningful?
Correct. And, you know, meaningful, when it was formed, we are 5 women. It really was about heart. That was the word that came to mind, you know, and my mentor, my spiritual mentor and my business mentor, Majida Ravat, who is the founding member of Meaningful Change, she's all about heart. And that was the defining factor, because if I'm looking at our 5 members of Meaningful Change, we all come from such diverse industries and, you know, the busyness of everyday life and corporate world, etc. But Majida is the kind of woman that was able to anchor us through always saying, what is your heart saying? Let's tune into your heart. And that made such a difference, because as women, we all want to make a change in this world. I think that's a natural disposition, because we come into this world, it's a gift, you know, we're given the gift of life. And then already, because we come in as a gift, it's a natural disposition to do good. But how do we do good if we can't do good to ourselves first? And this is what Meaningful Change is about. It's about growing yourself so that you can grow everybody else around you. It's about building the bridges in communities. It's about empowerment. It's about revival. Revival is such a key word for today, because the minute I think of revival, I think about sustainability. And, you know, if you are all entrepreneurs, as I know, okay, I think that is a conversation that we need to delve into so much more. How are we building sustainable businesses, and how are we creating sustainability within ourselves. And so really meaningful change as an MPO, we work towards that vision.
It's amazing, and we've been very honored to have met all the ladies with Meaningful for Change, and we've been part of the empowerment of the Meaningful for Change. We were talking about your travels. How did you get to, I think when I met you there was harem clothing, the journey, the transition into going into the Sari for Change and the Meaningful Change.
Correct. What actually happened is I've been in the retail industry for 25 years, and my journey has been from sweeping the shop floor in a boutique from a very young age up until where I am now, and that is the director of three companies. So I like to talk about my journey because within that lies the lessons. So the question was, starting my own retail store after working for many, many other stores locally and overseas, I wanted to create a space where we could dress women both from the inside and the outside, and hence Harem was born. Harem literally meaning a sacred space for women. The logo I use for Harem is the hand of Fatima. Our hand, if we look at it, has got 5 fingers, and each finger cannot do without the other. If we think about, we're pointing our tahiyat finger, we look at our thumb, there's just so many uses, and for me it represents nurture, it represents the essence of a woman, and that is what I created at Harem. Harem was situated in Victory Park Shopping Centre, and it was a space where I could bring clothing and coaching together. Obviously through Harem I had to source so many different clothing because that was my creativity I had to tap into, and that made me travel the world. I traveled Vietnam, India, Pakistan, and as a seeker of knowledge within the Islamic faith, I felt that it was important that I don't only see these countries as from a consumer point of view, because although I was sourcing local manufacturing, local fabrics, but I was also looking at what does Islam look like in those countries, and what is the skills and the artistry in these countries, and that's what I brought back as well. So Harem was a space that reflected my journey as a spiritual seeker, bringing back artifacts from those countries, but also the clothing aspect of it.
It's quite interesting because I could be in your space of traveling. I can picture myself in Pakistan and doing all the shopping and all. I love fabric.
Well, that for me too. That's the love story, and that's how I got to Sari for Change, because we haven't even touched on that yet. But I think, just thinking of India and Pakistan, my greatest pastimes was sitting on the floor with the Indian woman or Pakistani woman, and not all of them were English literate at the time, and we would speak with our hearts, sitting on the floor, drinking a glass of chai. They serve the chai in little glasses. Sweet, sweet, sweet. I mean, I think that's why I don't drink sugar in my tea these days. But I loved it, and just sitting and being able to share.
I think with all your travels, you can relate to the struggles of women in all different hours of life, being in India, being in Pakistan, and in Vietnam, and you've lived in Kenya for a while. When you relate to the struggles that women go through, business-wise, family-wise, and religion, I think we're faced with so much the gap between us personally, our spirituality, our creator, and having to be mothers, be superwomen, be everything. Yes. How do you find balance? How do you not give up? I know a couple of times, and so many times you've motivated me not to give up. And
very good question, Aisha. I think that it's such a vast topic, and as you're talking, I'm just going like a file through my mind and thinking about all these women that I left behind. And you can't reach out to everybody. The one lesson that I had to learn was I'm not Mother Teresa. It's choose your battle and choose it well and focus on that. Hence my project, Sari for Change, and coming back to the reality that it was about financial empowerment, because that's the thread that ran through all of the ills of these women in many ways, or how it could present and represent change to them. Coming back to how do we cope as mothers, as nurturers, as businesswomen? Yes, we are superwomen, okay? We do understand why Allah has gifted us with bearing a child for 9 months within ourselves, and, being the first influencer in that child's life. It's sacred. But most importantly, we need to understand the meaning behind the form. So if, on a personal level, if you have to pose that question to me, I ask myself, why am I doing what I'm doing? And that comes back to meaningful change. What is the purpose? So yes, we make our salah 5 times a day, we do our wudu, and I think this is one of the first lessons that I teach my mentees. Do it with deliberate intention. Take your time. Can you just imagine that water pouring over your flesh as you take your wudu, and you're sealing yourself from the world? Already you're stepping into His court to go and have conversation with Allah. And for me, those are the moments that and actions that I prefer to focus on, that holds you good and in good balance, to be able to be the businesswoman, to be the mother, to be the teacher. So it's about seeking the meaning within the form.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Last week when we were talking about money, we spoke to a very, what should I say, a lady who shares her light through Money Talks. And she spoke again about value and purpose. In anything that you do, it's important that you seek and you clarify your intention. You connect with it, and also you seek your purpose to say, why am I doing this thing? She mentioned that if you, for instance, you find somebody who will be establishing a business, but their main intention is to make money. But you find somebody else who wants to do a business, but their aim is to, yes, make money, but their primary aim is something else, to empower. So as a result, that's your investment. You are investing your intention, which will lead you to your returns. So if your intention in establishing what you establish is that you want to serve others, as Muhammad Ali, who was, by the way, born yesterday.
And I did meet him personally as well.
Oh,
so
that's great. Where was I? My goodness.
It was amazing.
Allahu Akbar, yes. As he was saying, he says, service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth. And that service, I believe, is what we need to put primarily in what we're doing. And that's what I see in meaningful change, that it's about serving others before anything, and anything else follows.
There's so many self-help, very well said. I really appreciate that, and the reminder as well. Thank you. There's so much emphasis and amazing books on self-help and self-empowerment, etc. These days you don't have to go to a coach, or it's all on Google and in books. But the reality is, are you willing to commit to do the work? Okay, because words can come easy, but are we ready to commit to the work? Because that's where the real transformation takes place, or shifts take place within ourselves. So coming back to the money aspect, at Meaningful Change is, why do we do what we do? What is, where's the money, etc. It took us a while to get to that. If I tell you that last year was the first year that Sari for Change actually showed a profit. It was a huge achievement, because what we did was we put the intention in front of us first, okay? And I read this book called, the author I remember is Lynn Twist, and she talks about the soul of money, okay? So maybe do some look up on that, and she explains it very nicely, which is what I really always strive to bring into the space, or Sari for Change, relating it to a sharing economy, a sacred economy. And in that context, we're looking at saris that's been given to us by communities that are no longer using it. That's 6 meters of fabric that is being stashed away in some grandmother's closet, okay? Bringing it out, remodeling it to make beautiful new garments, okay, that can solve a problem within a community, creating sustainability. So it's sharing. It's one person that has decided. Do you know that when we made a call out for Saris a few years ago, it came in thousands. We weren't prepared for this. We're like, wow. And it was that generosity that pushed us to the next level and the next level.
It's humbling. It's very amazing how people are willing to be part of the empowerment journey. But let's talk about your interns. You have interns from different walks of life, Muslim, non-Muslim. We're very passionate about diversity. How have you tapped into the non-Muslim business world in terms of fashion, and also with the interns that you have? Obviously, they come into your space of being a Muslim, and at all times as Muslims, we need to be ambassadors of Islam and also have people to understand our walk and be welcoming to them in our own space.
Correct, Aisha. But with the project, I don't put an emphasis to you Muslim, you non-Muslim. I see everybody as a soul, as human. I relate to people as humans first, and then it's my responsibility to lead to lead by example. So if my intern, and it's a very personal journey for me with my interns. I bring them into my personal space and then take them out to experience the marketing aspect, the production aspect, everything that constitutes a business. So with them coming into my personal space and me doing personal one-on-one coaching with them, they're understanding the adab of a Muslim, the culture of a Muslim, and they start asking their own questions. And it leads them to actually start questioning their faith values and what it does for them. And alhamdulillah, if there's any chance of them reverting or changing their perspective, yes, of course I invite them to the mosque. We've got a beautiful mosque space in Ruslo that is embracing of everybody, as mosques should be, and also tapping into the knowledge of the self more importantly.
Alhamdulillah. You spoke back, I'll take a bit back in the interview about financial backing, which is a struggle for every entrepreneur. I know from our last session when I had with you was, when do you start making profit? And you've said that Sari for Change just started making profits a year ago. And most of the time we give up at that space where we're about to make profit, and you've given up after such a long time. I remember reading an article that people would work and be employed for about 40 years of their life and be broke, but they can't spend 5 years being broke trying to build their businesses.
It's tough. It's tough. Let's agree on that. Okay, I believe that entrepreneurship is not for sissies. Okay, it's not. You've got to throw everything at it. Okay, and you've got to knock on every single door. But coming to that, we also need to understand, as an entrepreneur, what solution am I? What problem am I solving? Okay, and I believe if you are solving a problem in a meaningful way, okay, the sponsorships will come. Okay, and again, sponsorship is such a misused name as well, because what is it? Do we want to convert that sponsor to a partner? Do we want to rather have a collaboration? In today's society and business practice, there's so many other ways of doing business, and that's what we need to tap into. I personally, with all my other brands as well, we are all about collaborations. I take a very serious look at what our ancestors did before us. Here we have the stokvel. The stokvel is the most amazing model to replicate. Why are we not doing more stokvels? In Kenya, we have Harambee. Okay, Harambee is a collective collection of funds, whether you want to send your daughter to go and study overseas or start a business. Family members and believers of that community come together to support each other, and I feel that that's what's lacking. It's not about, yes, we need to give charity, but we also need to question, how are we going to do that? And so coming back to your question on sustainable businesses, Let's look at alternative models. Let's go and sit at the feet of our grandparents and grandparents and ask them, how was this done before? And draw in from those jewels, combine it with our technology today. And I mean, I think there's crowdfunding options digitally now.
Yeah.
There's so many other options that and models that we can look at. But let's move away from I need a sponsor to be able to do this. If you have a business idea, prove how it can work. Who is your market? Know your target audience. Okay, where do you find your target customer? Is it at the gym? Is it at this boutique? Where is it? Make it your business to find out how are you going to give your show your offering to your target market at a price that is affordable. Where is the value? You know, and we need to be honest about that. If you are making products that are shoddy, you know, bad quality, of course you're not going to sell it. Okay, so I think we need to always self-reflect, you know, and test our markets. You know, often I run an incubation through Meaningful Change and Sari for Change. It's a 4-month incubation, and one of the very key exercises that I get to give our interns are go and hang out at a shopping mall. You go with your survey and your product, and you stop that lady and you ask her, will you wear this? Do you like the color? Do you like the fabric? Because I'm speaking within my space, you know. But go and get feedback from the market, because your clients will dictate your longevity. It will dictate whether you'll have something to sell at the price that you're selling or the service that you are offering. So constantly self-reflect, re-evaluate, go back to the drawing board and tweak it. Sometimes you're sitting with a brilliant concept, but your communication is wrong, your marketing doesn't match your target audience. So do the research. Companies spend thousands and thousands of rands on research and development.
It's quite difficult when you don't have the resources or information regarding that. You know, sometimes people are deprived of lack of information or so resources where they can go to, or mentors like you. Some people are not fortunate. Let's say somebody in Polokwane, somebody in the rural area that's passionate about entrepreneurship, that's struggling and has good quality and got a good product. How would they tap into that space of saying, I'm looking for market? Because the struggle with every entrepreneur who's got good product is the market.
Yeah, that's true. And that struggle is real, Aisha. I think, again, going back to starting the project, we started a pilot store in Cosmos City, and we had the store up and running for a year, and people just could not relate to saris. They wanted shweshwe, they wanted African print. You know, it was just okay, how do we tweak this to the market? But going back to your original question, you know, social media is a tool today, a necessary tool. Put yourself out there, okay? Find organizations that, or designers or companies that are doing similar work as what you are doing. Tag them, okay? Set up appointments to go and see these companies. Present what you are doing. You never know where there's a synergy. There's CSI projects, there's budgets in corporate. Okay, but create the business plan for yourself so that you can go and you can market that. So at the end of the day, it comes back to packaging. How am I packaging myself? How am I packaging my business proposal? That's the way it starts. Okay, so I hear you that somebody in the rural areas, where do they go? Some people argue and say this is government's job. Okay, but I feel that if you really, really want it, okay, you will go, whether it's to your board or counselor in that area, okay, and go and ask, this is what I do, can you assist me to take this further, okay?
But, you know, just to jet in the, Sister Rayana, I think, you know, you spoke earlier about going back to our grannies and our grandfathers and sitting, having tea with them and asking them how they did things.
Yes.
I think we need to do that a lot, and not, it doesn't matter where you are. It's irrelevant whether you're in the suburbs or you're in the rural areas or anywhere. I'm referring to this because we're talking about how do you link all this information, and where do people in the rural areas start in terms of seeking their way forward or making inroads. I think the first step is to actually go back to those same grandfathers who used to head the cattle. There are plenty of lessons in how our ancestors, as you said, grew up. There is skill of how to organize, how to be a team, how to be one with the environment, how to listen with your soul to your fellow, like your animals, your cows and whatever. Sometimes you don't lead them, they lead you.
It's
Things
true.
like that.
Absolutely.
So if I feel that it goes beyond the teaching in the school and the teaching in the varsity, but it also goes back to what this show is about also, which is the common space, and we spoke that it was inspired by the Lekgotla, the Lekgotla that African people use to solve problems, social problems. So if we can stop undermining, but actually try and tap into those who walked before us, we could get solutions. We could go back to the Lekgotla and ask, okay, here are our problems. The chief or the elders, how do we tackle this? And I feel this is something that we might have to find a solution where we bridge the gap between the experienced, which is those who walked before us, and us who are regarded as the energetic, and we are everywhere. We're so energetic, we're just everywhere.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's the pearls of wisdom, right?
Yes.
And borrowing it from our ancestors. But if we bring that back, because if I try to convince my 20-year-old, for example, that this is what they'll look at me like, yeah, right, whatever. Okay. So bring it back to today. What does that look like? That's your mentor-mentee. Okay, mentorship. Mentorship is key. Okay, your mom is your mentor. So in that context, then, okay, and that's how we need to direct those kind of conversations.
And you also spoke of crowdfunding,
Yes.
which I think I dream about it almost every night.
So what's stopping you from putting yourself
Nothing.
out there?
She's a sucker for that.
I really am. I think I must get an award for just thinking it.
Well, there's quite a few sites, and maybe you should talk about that on your next show and get some people that's doing Thunderfud. There's Indigo. There's quite a few. So yeah, that would be an interesting discussion.
Yeah, because I think there's a solution there. We always say we don't have money all the time when we want to start something. I've only got so much, you've only got so much. But you spoke of Harambee, and in I think in Tanzania there's Ujamaa, where people organize themselves economically and they look at what they have. Everyone has something to offer.
And coming back to, we're here at a Muslim broadcast station, right? And bring it back into that context as well. I feel that us as a community, we are powerful and we're so financially rich. We're strong. But there's a disconnect somewhere, okay? And that disconnect is really having to be directed into the charity aspect, but adding that learnings to it so that we can reach sustainability. So, just listening to some of your projects, I'm very encouraged, because I believe that it's not just Muslims involved, it's everybody, and that is a good step in inclusivity, but also in understanding when you leave a community after you've given charity, what skills have you left behind that can allow them to, become more sustainable and really prosper. We've got it within us, but it's about, I always think, and this, like you say, that's your dream of doing crowdfunding. For me, it's about creating a think tank within our community where we have, an expert in the financial aspect. We have somebody that understands how to drive these kind of models, and then we've got our organizations on the ground, and let's link that all together so that we can become a model community and show that we can create value in rands and cents for our less fortunate communities as well. And so, you know, it goes back to the adage of not giving a fish to feed for the day, but teaching that community how to fish.
Yeah, it's very inspirational because we go back to sustainable charity. I think another thing that we miss out is we forget, it's also going back to learning from our ancestors and all that, we forget about engagement with the communities, the stakeholder consultation. When you go into a rural area, you go there, you've already got food for those people and they don't need food because they've got so much land that they are planting. Then you're giving them food. It defeats the purpose of what you're doing.
And also, you know, it creates that dependency attitude.
True.
You know, I remember when I started this, let me tell you ladies, I drove in my car, my little car, every Sunday morning, and I started off in Kliptown, and I would go and sit with these gogas and just like say, okay, we're going to do this. You know, you can sew, you can knit, you know, let's pool our resources. And I just probably did that for about 2 months. And after a while, you just see the interest because they realized they had to work for this. It was an opportunity, but it wasn't immediate results. There wasn't that immediate gratification that we as a community are so more, we're kind of going to lean towards that rather than looking at a vision and directing it over a period of time and it being a long-term solution. You know, so we have to deal with that. There's many different levels and issues and challenges that we have, and part of my program is, before we even start with the learnings, is to actually tap into yourself and look at what shifts need to take place within yourself first, so that we lose the instant gratification aspect of it, and we start learning how do we serve, what does gratitude mean to us. You know, here this person has come, given her time, given her energy, and her intention of wanting to improve. How do I complement that?
You've gotten us into your space.
Sure,
so
most definitely.
This can go on forever, but we have to take a break now and we'll continue with the discussion. The time is 11 o'clock and you're still on the common space with Dimpo and Mamalete. We'll have a short break and continue with Sister Rayana Edwards after the break. Assalamu alaikum.
Sure. Yeah, Allah. That's
Sure. How can you do
me.
that
I
to
just
us?
do this now.
Guys, you're rocking. It's rocking.
Sure.